Hey, everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal. I'm Kristi Brower here with my co host, Katie Weaver.
Hello.
We're so excited to be joining you this week. We have been on quite a journey with a case, and this week we're going to deviate to something else. So,
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute, but
we
it's
have been
kind of fun
down
to.
the Vallow rabbit hole.
Have we ever? We have been down the Valor rabbit hole, and we're taking a break because things have kind of quieted down with that case, and we're going to hit something else. But first, we wanted to do a little check in. So, Katie, how are you?
I'm great. I was busy before the show making a big salad to take to your house.
Yeah,
We're having a barbecue this afternoon.
yes, we are. It is currently 73 degrees at 1:10 p.m. at our house, which is pretty fabulous for where we live, gotta
For
say.
May, it could be snowing,
Oh, dude,
We'll take
totally.
this. I
Yes,
keep
we
hearing
will.
in other parts of the world, or country, they've been getting some snow and colder than regular temps, and here we are, and it's basically been paradise. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really has. It's been great. So I'm excited about that, excited to be outside. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Me too. And I know my salad's going to be good because my kids were watching me making it going, do we have to wait to eat that? That's going to be, are you putting that in there? Oh, so it's like an Italian style green salad.
Ooh,
I put pepperoni and olives and cheese and tomatoes on it.
yeah.
So should be. And
I'll
then I
let
made
y'all
homemade
know how it
ranch.
turned out because it sounds fantastic. Ooh, even homemade
Yeah.
ranch.
Yeah,
Nice.
I made my famous homemade ranch. So yeah,
Ooh.
there's no hidden valley in this house.
Yeah, there isn't mine, but not because I eat it.
No,
My kid is addicted to it, so,
he's basically swimming pools of it. Yeah.
he really does. It's weird, but anyway.
But
Well,
yeah, it's all good. I've been
yeah,
planting flowers and it's so good. Actually, so my daughter, Matea, is in Boise going to school, and
yeah,
she has created or formed an addiction to plants that is even worse than mine or her dad,
really.
which says a lot.
It does say a
And
lot. You guys have a lot of plants.
and she has just fallen in love with plants and with growing things. And she called me yesterday. Ross finally opened, and Ross and Gordman's are her favorite stores on the planet of Earth.
Oh, yes.
And Ross finally opened, and she went in there all masked up and safe and prepared, and discovered that their pots were all like crazy marked down.
Oh.
That she found something for me that I have been looking for years. And it is a little planter that looks like a bike.
Oh.
And the seat is a basket, and then it has a basket on the front of it, that's a basket,
Yeah,
to
got it.
put wave petunias or something in. Anyway,
Fun.
I have wanted one of those forever. So she called me and said, "Hey, guess what I found and bought you?" So she'll be home next week, and I'm just so freaking excited.
Well, how fun. That is very exciting.
Yeah. So anyway, I am also in plant heaven or hell, but
Well, good. As I have stated before, I have two very black thumbs when it comes to plants. So yeah, good,
mm,
good on you that you can grow them. Because no,
I'm not that great with flowers. I'm hoping. Here's hoping. I can grow a vegetable, to
yeah,
rival the green giant, but when it comes to flowers, I am no mom. Our mom, oh my God, the woman grew flowers like you can't
oh,
believe.
she did.
My indoor house plants do great. Our garden stuff does great, but my flowers struggle. So I'm trying to turn over a new thumb this year, and we'll see. We'll see how they do.
Well, I'm impressed. I can't
Lots
wait
of
to
good
see.
vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, good. Well, I guess
Yeah.
it's just a creative day because I did a big rearrange of my office. If you're watching the show, you will note that I have a much tidier background. We rearranged my office and moved my desk so that you're not actually seeing the entire room
Mhm.
when I'm on the show because my office is kind of a multi-purpose room when it comes to stuff in here, and it feels really good to have it clean
Mhm.
and more organized. I've been feeling a little like I can't take the clutter anymore. Like the chaos in my
Mhm.
office gets overwhelming, and then I don't want to be in here.
Mhm.
And that's not good because I work in here. This is my office where I actually do my job as well as
Yeah.
our podcast. So,
Mhm.
yeah, important for me to be able to get in here and do what I need to do. So,
For sure.
I had some
Yeah.
fun with that today.
Well,
Yeah,
very good. I love it.
yeah.
I'm
So,
sure I'll see it. whenever I'm at
Yes.
Kristi's house, because I work on a psychic hotline. And so
Yeah.
when I'm at my sister's houses, I always go ahead and stay logged in and work because they both have great offices I can borrow to take a call. So I always love coming in your office. Going in your office is a bit of a crapshoot because you have
Yeah.
a cat that steals your office chair
Mhm.
and you can't move her. First of all, she weighs about 150 pounds.
Yeah, she's a big girl.
Second of all, if I try to move her off of the chair, she will give me the what for. So,
Uh-huh.
many times I've been in your office and had to just kind of stand or find somewhere else to perch myself because she's not giving up that chair. But anyway, I'll probably be in that office at some point today.
She is super naughty. Well, you'll have to check it out. Yeah, she,
Yeah.
actually fights me from my office quite regularly. I think she's quite
Mhm.
sure it's actually her office.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well,
I'm
I
not
think it.
sure what she's doing with it except for sleeping in it, but
Mhm. Well, it's her office. That's what she is
yeah,
doing her work.
she is quite sure. Yes, she is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, why don't we jump into today's case?
Yes.
Today, we are going to cover the Delphi murders. So, the Delphi murders are the killing of Abby Williams and Libby German. Now, this is a sad case. This is a really tough one because it's kids, and I
Mm.
it's always sad, but when it's kids, I think it's much worse.
Yeah.
And this is a fairly recent case. This happened in 2017 and
Oh.
is currently unsolved. So we're going to do this as a cold read case because you know that we this is true crime paranormal with the psychic sisters, and so we like
Mhm.
to do cold reads. And so Katie has not studied this case; she doesn't know anything else about it other than what I
Nope.
just said. And so I'm going to give the case and give some of the information. And then Katie's going to give us her cold read. What does she think happened to these girls? What does she think about who the killer is? That kind of stuff. Whatever you want to share with us, we'll give. So
Mhm.
I'm going to tell the
Before we
story
go
first.
further,
Mm,
will you do me one quick favor? Will you just tell
yes.
me their names one more time? I just want to
Yes.
write them down so I have them clearly.
So we have Abigail Abby Williams
Okay.
and Liberty Libby German
Okay. But they went by Abby.
and Libby. Abby and Libby is what they went by.
Okay. So Abby Williams. This is just,
Mhm.
it's important to my process
For sure.
to
And
have their names.
Abby was 13 and Libby was 14.
All right. Carry
Okay.
on.
Okay. So this happened on February 13th, 2017. Abby and Libby were dropped off at a trailhead. Their older, let's see, Libby's older sister, Kelsey, dropped them off at a trailhead. This was near the Hoosier Heartland Highway. This is in Indiana.
Okay.
So the girls were hiking on something known as the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek. So apparently, this is a well known place with a well known trail. It's a place that a lot of people go. They like to go hiking there.
Yeah.
That's where they were last seen, was going over the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek. So they were reported missing at 5:30 p.m. that day because they didn't meet the family member that was to pick them up at the end of the trail. And
How how soon should they have come across that?
at 5:30. So they were supposed to be there at 5:30.
At
Family member,
5:30,
yeah, family
weren't there,
member.
so they didn't wait for hours.
No, they just
Okay.
didn't show up. Family members got immediately concerned and reported it to the police.
Mhm.
So the police kind of did a search of the area. Initially didn't really think it was anything other than maybe the girls were just lost, or they just, lost track of time. They weren't that
Sure.
concerned about it until the next day about noon, where when their bodies were found. And they were
Okay.
found only about a half a mile east of that Monon High Bridge, which is where their family member, the sister that had dropped them off, was the last time they'd been seen. So they only
Okay.
got like a half a mile from that bridge.
Okay.
So this is an interesting case because it is still open. And because of that, a lot of information has not been released. One of the things that hasn't been released is the details of how they died. That has not been released to the public. So we know they were murdered. We know they found their bodies, but there is no
Mhm.
information about how that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's some interesting things about this. So About February 15th, so just a couple of days after they were found, police started circulating a still image of a person that was seen on the Monon High Bridge Trail, near where their bodies were found. So I'm gonna send you that picture right now, Katie, so
Mhm.
that you can take a look at it. So it should be in your messages.
Okay.
It's kind of a grainy picture. The person is looking down. What
Mhm.
is your immediate read on this?
On whether he was involved or not?
Mhm.
I believe that he was. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did name him the prime suspect
Mhm.
in the double homicide a few days after this picture was released, and I'm gonna wait till the end to tell you why that is the case. Later on, they did release a composite sketch. Now, this is interesting because they have this grainy photograph, right?
Mhm.
Well, then they release a composite sketch of this person's face. So I'm gonna send you that.
Mhm.
That ought to be in your DM. So now you can kinda
Mhm.
see, his face.
Mhm.
Interestingly, that it's a composite sketch and not another photograph. Like, where did this sketch come from? You know what I'm saying?
Well, they had to have had a witness that the only thing that's weird to me about the picture and the sketch is that the hair is so different.
Yeah, and it's kinda hard to tell because I think in the picture, the person is wearing a hat, maybe? It's hard to
Oh,
tell
maybe
because it's
it
pretty
that looks like
grainy.
yeah, I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, um, the composite sketch came from an eyewitness who saw this particular hiker on the trail on the day that the girls vanished. So it wasn't necessarily they didn't witness what happened, they just
Right.
saw this person on the trail. But they
Mhm.
are implying that these are the same person in the photo and the composite sketch.
Right. Yeah.
So then, also in February, later in February, law enforcement released an audio recording where they say it is the voice of the assailant. Now, this
Mhm.
is really strange. And we're going to get to why this is in a minute, but so we're going to play it for you. It's very brief, so we're going to play it 3 times in a row. Katie hasn't heard it yet. She's going to hear it right now, and that will then we'll see what you have to what you think about it, and then I'll talk a little bit about where it came from.
Okay.
So, everybody just take a minute and listen, and afterward, if you're not sure what the person was saying, I can tell you what the person was saying. So we're just gonna take a listen to that.
Guys, downhill. Guys, downhill. Guys, downhill.
Okay, so that was what is believed to be the voice of the assailant, the voice of the man that killed Abby and Libby.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's pretty muffled, it's pretty hard to hear, but what the police have deciphered from this is they think that he says, "Guys," and then he says, "Down the hill." Guys, something down the
Mhm.
hill.
Down the hill.
Yeah. What is your hit when just what's your, like, visceral reaction when you hear that?
That to me is him luring these girls away, getting
Mhm.
them off the trail. I feel like my first hit initially here a few minutes ago was that he got them off the trail by asking for their help.
Ah, okay, okay.
Ask, can I just get you guys to come help me for a minute kind of a thing.
Mhm.
I feel like he, had some story about something that it's kind of the age old story, like, can you help me find my missing puppy kind of thing,
Right.
that
Yeah.
he seemed, approachable. He kind of looked like a big brother, and he
Mhm.
got them off the trail because that trail, I think, was fairly well traveled and was considered to be a safe place. I don't think either of the
Yeah.
families of these girls thought that they were putting them in any danger. In fact, I really wonder if they've done this trail before. It just feels extremely familiar, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But I do feel like he uh, pulled them off the trail. Basically, he lured them off the trail by asking for their help. And that was him saying, guys, down the hill, this is where we're going. basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I feel like
So
these two were just bright, happy, funny adventurers that, someone
mhm,
asked for help and they went to help him. It just didn't even strike
right,
them that they were in danger until they went, you
right.
know, till they went with him.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's most definitely what happened. But an interesting twist to this is the reason they have that recording and the reason they have that still photo is because Libby recorded some video on her phone.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing about that. It's never been released. The police will not release it. They're holding it for evidence
Hmm.
for the trial, they say.
Hmm.
Hopefully someday there will be one.
Right.
Now, so they say that there's more video, there's more of it. And
Hmm.
so they've just pulled a small part of it out. What they were hoping to do was that someone might recognize the person's voice, although I gotta say the recording was really poor and it's
Mm.
hard to do that. And the picture is very hard as well because they're not really looking up, not really seeing
Hmm.
their face. But there's a lot of I'm curious, what's your read on why did Libby record this? Or was it intentional to record him? Or, what was going on that she actually got some recording on her cell phone, do you think?
I don't think it was out of suspicion.
Okay.
I feel like she was recording. I feel like she was actually recording that they were messing around. That was the first thing I heard from her was we were messing around. You
Mhm.
And I think about 13 and 14-year-olds and what they
Right.
do with their phones. Were they vlogging,
Right.
Were
Mhm.
they, get trying to make a TikTok, or whatever it was called in 2017. But,
Uh-huh.
th- I feel like she started out by just making a video messing around.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, she caught some stuff, and then I
Mhm.
wonder if that recording later turned into something a little bit different, you know, as
That's what's
time
believed
went on.
because the
Mhm.
police haven't released it, that it's believed that,
Mhm.
there's something incriminating on this
Yeah. I don't feel like it
recording.
started out to be. I feel like she was messing around with her phone, that she took lots of videos, and
Mhm.
maybe she took lots of things and then deleted them. And, that's what kids do, with their phones.
Right.
They video basically everything and then delete most of it because they're waiting to catch something hilarious or weird or whatever. And
Yeah.
these two were off on a big adventure, on this hike by themselves.
Yeah.
They were off having fun. But yeah, I feel like eventually the recordings on her phone turned into trying to, yeah,
Yeah.
trying to keep a record of what was actually happening, but I don't think it started that way.
Yeah. I agree. I agree because I think you wouldn't necessarily have time to grab your phone and start videoing if something bad was
Right.
going down.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there was a sort of a break in this case in April of 2019. And so the police released some more things. And one of the things they released was a short video of this blue jean and jacketed person walking along the rail bridge and for a little over a second. So they've released another tiny bit. It doesn't show anything more than what the still does. It's just the same person
Mhm.
um, walking across this bridge. And then an updated sketch came out. And then then that's when they released the version of the audio that we've already heard where he says "guys" before "down the hill." But
Mhm.
for whatever reason, they are very slowly rolling out any of this information.
Mhm.
Let's see. So later on, they updated the sketch to show an older man with a goatee and a cap.
So they're thinking guys might have indicated more people.
Maybe. I think they're also, releasing a little more of the audio because they want to, see if anyone recognizes this person's voice. But again,
Mhm.
the audio quality is so poor, I just don't know if you would recognize
It just
anybody.
feels like a real power struggle in the police force about how to go about this. I really feel
Yeah,
for their families because I feel like their families are just very frustrated at this point because they feel like there's more that could be being done that isn't. And
yeah,
I know these cases take some time and I get it and all of that, but I'm with them too that what I feel like will happen is that there will be change of guard within the the prosecutor's office or the police force, the detectives that are working on this, there'll be a change of guard, and the new person in charge is going to decide to release a lot more.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
feel like there's a power
it
struggle right now about what to do, and it's not
yeah.
necessarily the right decision. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I feel like there's a serious amount of frustration within the ranks of those that are actually investigating this case because their hands have been tied quite a lot as well
Mhm.
by the supervisor over this case that feels like this is the right path, but it may not be. Anyway, there's a lot of frustration there. There's a lot of lack of trust and real disagreement on how to move forward.
Yeah, it seems like it, and, this is the only case I think I've ever seen where they don't release the manner of death.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that they don't release that might lead someone to jog somebody's memory. So it
Mhm.
is strange. It is strange, and maybe there's a reason that we just don't know,
It
um, yet,
it's
you
a
know?
real catch-22 because I feel like it is to some capacity, it is a protection to their families. There's some real horror here, and I feel like there's some protection to their families because of what has really happened, and it's
Mhm.
terrible. The
It
whole thing is just so beyond terrible. But
it
I
is.
also feel like it's kind of double-edged. I mean, there's a few different arguments, right? One of them, I
Mhm.
believe, is that we're kind of protecting the families and the community from the horror that this is. The
Yeah.
other is that they want to preserve as much of the evidence as possible so that, when they do make an arrest, they can make sure they have the right person. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of torn on
Yeah.
that. But the word that keeps coming up in my head is copycat, and that either
Mm.
these are a copycat from another murder that was done further ago, or that they're trying to protect from a copycat. I
Interesting.
wonder if they suspect that this person is a serial killer or a blooming serial killer, and they're
Mhm.
trying not to give them too much press time, too much airtime, too much attention to try to
Mhm.
prevent that because that's getting that attention from the world is something that really fuels serial killers. And I feel like that is a part of the conversation here, that we're just not going to give this person as any notoriety that we can avoid. So we're
Mhm.
not going to roll too much out, just, a modicum of information so that we can try to help the public to identify them, but we're not going to give them a lot because this is what we think is happening. So,
Mhm.
and that's what I think is mostly true about why they haven't released more information. I do think there
Mhm.
is an argument there about protecting the families, but I mean, sometimes I'm led to two
Yeah.
cases that happened in our community.
Mhm.
Two different cases. One of them was a store, a little tiny country store
Oh,
way
yes.
out in the country that basically just the locals shopped at. It was just family owned, a husband and wife, sweet, wonderful little people.
Mhm.
Little, she was tiny. That's why I said that. Sweet, wonderful people. It was
Mhm.
just down the road from where I lived for a while, and they were just
Yeah.
gems. And anyway, she was shot and killed in cold blood in that store. And it really rocked that community. Nothing like that happens there ever.
Yeah.
And when they caught the perps, they were teenagers who were trying to run away and join a gang. And they had been told that they had to kill somebody first before they could get into said gang. And when you first started talking to me about this case, that's the first thing that came up. Not a gang thing. And I know I'll do a full evaluation later, but this is kind of the
Mm.
first thing. Not exactly a gang thing, but kind of a rite of passage thing.
Mm.
So there
Okay.
is that. But the other case that came up for me was something that happened here in my town quite a few years ago. Some people
Mhm.
that we knew. In the middle of the night, a home exploded, like
Yes.
exploded, and there was a young couple or a couple and their young son. He was 5 or 6 in the
Mhm.
home at the time. And initially, it was ruled that it was a gas leak, and they were buried. And a few months later, those bodies were exhumed because there were a lot of questions about what actually happened there, because there was so much heat in that fire that the fire marshal really didn't think that a propane or a natural gas or it would have been propane where they lived
Mhm.
explosion could have possibly cause the fireball that became that home.
Mhm.
And they did eventually discover bullet holes, a gun,
Mhm.
possible accelerants, but that case was very quietly swept away and put to bed out
Yes.
of respect for the families in this community who it was their son, another family's daughter, and then the grandchild. And that case
Mhm.
really, truly is unsolved, at least to the public eye, because they were protecting the families rather than, being completely transparent. That comes up for me, and I apologize for, bringing up old cases, except for that I think it gives some
No.
light to where my mindset goes, where my own intuitive abilities, kind of start making some connections. So, what's the connection to that case? For me, it's that idea that we're not going to sensationalize this too much or give out too much information to, at least in name, to protect the families that have to live with this. Not
Yeah.
not the perpetrator, but the victims' families and the
Yeah.
children that knew these victims, and so on and so forth. So, I do think there is
Mhm.
a protective angle happening here. But more than
Mhm.
anything, it's the idea of the copycat, creating a copycat, and giving steam to a serial killer. But I'll go further. But those are my initial hits.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Well, and I always feel like when you're reading a case, other cases will come up that have some similarity. That's
Uh-huh.
part of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm going to give you some suspects. Now, just
Okay.
know that no one has ever been arrested
Hmm.
for this case, but we'll talk about the people that the police have looked at.
Hmm.
Ultimately, they have exonerated all of these people, but
Hmm.
I want to hear what you think. So, first
Sure.
is Paul Etter. Paul Etter was considered a person of interest in the murders just last year in 2019. He was wanted for the kidnapping and rape of a 26-year-old woman in
Okay.
Tippecanoe County, so also in Indiana. But he ended up having a standoff with the police where he commits suicide, and that was in
Hmm.
July of 2019. So if he did it, he's gone. So we don't know. Daniel Nations. Okay, so this was a big one. This was probably, I think, their first suspect was Daniel Nations. And Daniel Nations was a registered sex offender from Indiana. He was arrested in Colorado in 2017, charged with threatening strangers on a monument trail with a hatchet. So he's
Hmm.
kind of been known as a bit of a wackadoodle, but he did live in the area
Hmm.
in Indiana at the time that this happened. Um, let's
And his
see.
name was Strangers
Nations. Daniel
Nations.
Nations.
Okay. And the
Yeah.
first guy, I need to keep their names straight.
Oh, sorry. It was Paul Etter.
We have Eder. We have Nations. Okay, go ahead.
One of the reasons they were interested in him is because he was threatening people on a trail,
Hmm.
and,
And he was a sex offender. We've got
and
a
he was
pattern
a sex
here.
offender. So, yeah,
Hmm.
they're certainly looking at that.
Hmm.
Let's see. He's no longer considered an active person of interest. They have ruled him
Hmm.
out, but at the time, there was real question about him. Let's see. Next is Thomas Bruce. So he was formerly a pastor and has been charged with fatally shooting one woman and sexually assaulting two others.
Hmm.
This was
Oh.
in this happened in broad daylight in November of 2018. So there was some thought about him. Um, he was of similar height to the suspect. They think the suspect is 5'9" to 5 foot, or 5'7" to 5'9". And during the attack, he was wearing a flat cap and a navy blue jacket. So dressed slightly similarly and similar height. Um, they looked into him as a possible, but he's been charged with a whole bunch of felonies in St. Louis,
Hmm.
and is, certainly could in fact receive the death penalty for the things he's been charged with, but
Hmm.
they really could never make a full connection between him and this case. There were just
Hmm.
some similarities that made him wonder. And the last is Charles Eldridge. He was arrested in January 2019 in Union City, Indiana. He was that was on charges of child molestation and child solicitation. So another sex offender, of course. it does make me question if the murders had a sexual element. We don't know,
They
but
did.
because they're
Yeah.
looking at sex offenders, it does make you wonder.
Mhm.
Um, he resembles a bit the composite drawing, the sketch, and so that was why they were interested in him. But again, he has not been arrested. No one has. So those are the 4 persons of interest that the police have looked at. And now this case is it's not closed. It is still
Mhm.
active. And, like just last year, they released a little bit more video, they released a little bit more audio. They're obviously
Mhm.
still working it, but they
Oh, yeah.
clearly do not have enough at least to make an arrest in this case.
Yeah.
There's really no indication that they actually know who did it. And it doesn't mean they don't, because we know
Mhm.
that the police are going to hold on to something like that pretty tightly until they're
Mhm.
ready.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that they do have a suspect, but at this point, publicly, nothing is indicating who they think did this. So
Okay.
that's the story. Let's hear
Okay.
your read on it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's heavy. It's a big one. All right. I want to do a couple of things. Let's talk about the suspects first. I don't
Okay.
believe it was any of them.
Okay.
I mean, all 4 terrible humans, that
Mhm.
holy shit, but
Yeah.
it wasn't any of them. I will tell you, when I heard the name of the Bruce, the pastor that was by the last name of Bruce, that
Mhm.
absolutely sent shivers down my spine.
Yeah.
He is just so bad.
Yeah.
And they all, I mean, we have, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you got a mix here of just truly straight up evil people, really, and some serious mental illness and some addiction. And, they've kind of
Yeah.
covered all aspects here with these guys, but none of
Right.
them are the right guy. What I'm hearing is that the person who did this is younger than they think.
They did address that. That was interesting. They addressed it in the original composite sketch. Looks like a fairly young person. That's
Mhm.
why they added the goatee and the hat when they updated the composite sketch, because they
Mhm.
said that they believe that this person is somewhere between 18 and 40, and they didn't want the
Mhm.
sketch to appear too young to give people the impression. But
Mhm.
obviously the age range is pretty broad in what this
That's
could mean.
yeah. I'm leaning a lot closer to the 18 to 20 range.
Are you
I think
okay?
he was fairly young. The girls looked at him like a brother figure,
Mhm.
not as a dad figure. I mean, these
Mhm.
girls were 13 and 14, you
Right.
know? I mean, a dad for them could be not that old,
Right. 30,
but they
you know?
resonated with him as more of a brother or an older cousin kind of figure. I think the
Okay.
18 to 20 range is a lot more accurate.
Okay.
Um, there's a few things that come up for me, but I really want to channel one of the girls.
Okay. Let's
I
do it.
don't want to leave that out, and I don't know if I should lay out what I know, what I'm heal. Well, let's do that first. I'm
Okay.
honestly not quite sure what the right order to go is, but maybe it doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
So let me connect. All right, I'm going to connect to Abby. She's the one that's coming up.
Okay.
She says it was just a stupid thing.
Okay.
We were playing around, having fun. And this guy, he comes up and he says he needs our help. He told us someone was hurt.
Oh, okay.
He said it will just take a minute, but can you guys just help me for a minute? And we went. Okay. Earlier, I said that I felt like both of the girls, were cool and trusted him. She
Mhm.
says that's not true. She did. She said I didn't feel like anything was wrong. Libby was a little more hesitant, but because I went, she went too.
Gotcha. Okay.
The injuries that I see that she's showing me. When I
Mhm.
first tuned into her, I had a smashing headache.
Okay.
I also see some kind of maybe a hammer or a sledgehammer or something like that.
Okay.
I actually feel like both girls had a blunt force trauma. wound to the head. I feel like that's how he initially knocked them out
Mhm.
or, got control over them. That's what she's showing me.
Okay.
I feel like she got there first. He kind of ran down the trail ahead of them or down the hill and was like, was kind of calling to them, please hurry, just a little further. And they were both kind of trying to keep up with him. And that's how I feel like he took her by surprise and knocked her down. But I feel like Libby maybe tried to get away or tried to help her. But it was a similar kind of injury.
Okay.
And that's where she's showing me a few more things. So here's the things she's showing me.
Okay.
I kind of hate to even say these things, but he did sexually assault both girls in multiple manners.
Okay.
I also feel like there are carvings on their bodies.
Okay.
This was some kind of a ritualistic thing. And I don't say that lightly because lots of things get pinned on ritualistic things that aren't, but I feel like this person had been studying. I keep seeing symbols, and I don't want to make the connection between. Well, it's not a connection. I keep seeing symbols, not a swastika, but something that kind of looks like that.
Okay.
I feel like this person was in some chat rooms online where there were some really dark people talking about really dark things.
Okay.
This was a claiming or a harvesting of souls.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They had to be girls and they had to be around this age. This was taking from virgins, basically. I don't know if I have that terminology completely correct, but basically they had to be young teens. I'm going to tell you this. When the girls were incapacitated, I feel like they both came out of their bodies really quickly. I feel like they were really shielded and protected from what happened to their bodies.
It's good.
She doesn't have a lot of information for me.
Good.
Which really indicates to me that she doesn't know that much. She can really just show me what happened. What I'm seeing isn't really coming from her, I don't think, as far as like how they died.
Okay.
But I do feel like they both died from head wounds or from blunt.
Okay.
From trauma, from being hit. That there is blood. There is blood. There was carving on their bodies. Oh, Jesus, this is so awful.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was a stream or if he had some water to wash up, because I don't feel like he walked out of there with any blood on him at all.
Yeah, this happened about 50 yards from Deer Creek.
Okay. Yeah, because he walked out of there with no blood on him at all. But I will tell you this, I think that there are pictures. I think that he maybe actually shared these somewhere online. He was gaining something. He was earning some kind of prestige or something along those lines. And I do think that there is the evidence of these killings is on the internet somewhere.
Oh, wow.
The girls are okay. The girls are okay. I feel like their angels, guides, ancestors really shielded them from the horror of what really happened to their bodies. I
Mhm.
feel like part of now after seeing that, I feel like part of not releasing too much is because of those symbols and,
Mhm.
trying to figure that shit out before this
Right.
does become a serial killer, you know. I I will say I don't think he's done this again.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he won't, because whatever he's involved in here, I mean, there's definitely an angle here of mental unwellness, but
Mhm.
also I feel like this is someone I will say who was seriously lacking in father figures,
Mm. Okay.
who found someone, some group, something online that has steered him and affected him in ways that maybe other people wouldn't fall so deeply into. But there
Mm.
is a serious need here to please
Mhm.
and to please and to receive some kind of praise, you know,
Yeah.
to do a job well done, you know.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, yep. Uh, I don't think he lives in the area.
Okay.
I feel like uh, he traveled around for a while looking for the exact right opportunity for this. I feel
Mhm.
like he had been in multiple places. I also feel like he had tried to lure some children away a couple of times on other trails in other areas and was unsuccessful. So that could be a clue, that
Yeah.
I feel like he had tried before and couldn't get couldn't get takers.
Mhm.
And this time he did. Not on that trail though. I feel like it was in other areas. I feel like his span might have been at least around that state, but maybe in another state as well, where he had been scoping this out and planning it for quite some time.
Mhm.
And that basically he had his see, I don't think he had a lot. Like I said, I think he had some kind of a hammer. Like
Mhm.
it not a sledgehammer that has like the really long handle, a short sledgehammer. So you kind of have the big, iron head thing on it and a fairly short handle. That is what I
Right.
feel like his weapon was. He had a knife on his belt and that was it.
Okay.
So I don't feel like he had a lot of tools.
Mhm. Pretty confident, don't you think, in a public place during the day?
Mhm,
Um, Obviously a place that was frequented by other people because someone else saw him there.
mhm, mhm. I think that was a part of the challenge, though. You know,
Mhm.
that this was supposed to be done in daylight. This was supposed to
Right.
be done, you know. But wherever the spot that he managed to lure these girls to was private enough that he was able to commit his crime.
Mhm.
I feel like it wasn't instant. I feel like this was an hour at least that he, you know, worked on
Mhm.
them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. We're ending on a pretty somber note, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's powerful to get that kind of connection with someone who's crossed over
Hmm.
to get because we know so little about this case
Hmm.
to get some more details.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, and you know what? I guess what we do is we send all of the best to the detectives
Yeah.
and to everyone that's working on this case that some connections can be made and that a real arrest will be made in this case.
Yeah.
The the girls didn't seem to know or care if there would be an arrest made. That's pretty common, actually, of people who have
Yeah.
died. But I did ask if they thought that there was, that there would be an arrest in this case, and there was a real shrug. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. To them, it doesn't really matter. This is more of a our reality kind of problem.
yeah. If he strikes again, it will be very different circumstances. This is not going to be a serial killer who does everything the same way.
Hmm.
And I know that's uncommon of serial killers, but remember that this guy is taking marching orders, you
Right.
know, and so he's kind of passing off levels. And so it will be
Hmm.
in a different place. It will be a different situation, though I
Hmm.
do suspect that sex crimes will always be associated.
Gotcha. Ugh. Okay, people of knowledgeable of the dark web, help us find this.
Well, there's some kind of a building of power up through the sex crimes, but also through the ages, like in this case,
Uh,
virgins.
mm,
There's something to be said here about what they're trying to, or what he's, or whoever this group is, whatever they're trying to build or gather. There's an idea of a gathering of power through the kinds of crimes that are committed.
yeah. Wow. Wow.
Holy Christ. Wow.
Sometimes it's a shocker how depraved human beings can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And in
Even
this case, this person,
yeah.
he's going to do whatever he's instructed to do.
Mhm.
You know,
So there's
he's really proved that.
no remorse, I mean, obviously, was
Mm-mm.
a very confident
Mhm.
situation to have done something like that
Mhm.
in daylight in a public place.
Mhm.
Yeah, has struck me all along. The first time I ever learned about this case was the confidence that it must take to do what he did. And to
Yeah.
get away with it to this point, to even have video of this person and still
Mhm.
no arrest
Mhm.
is
Yeah, but
pretty
he
wild.
came from a ways away.
Yeah,
He's not from that area. Nobody around there would have known him or had any idea who he was,
yeah.
you know. I also am guessing
There's
he's kind of a mama's basement dweller, that
mhm.
he's not somebody, he's a real introvert that I would imagine a lot of people, very few people actually know.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, we're definitely gonna keep an eye on this case, but thank you very much for that. That was very powerful.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Well, we just wanna remind you that we are on Patreon, and when you go to Patreon, there's extra content there. So if you like the work that we're doing and you want to hear some more of our content, you can do that by becoming a patron, finding True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters at Patreon. And we will be providing or have already provided the Bell Witch,
Mhm.
the mysterious death of Henry McCabe,
Mhm.
and the one, and we're going to do this again, but we did
Mhm.
a celebrity death roulette where I gave a cold read
Mhm.
on 11 cases, and that was really a lot of fun. And so we're going to keep doing those. And so if you want to get our
Uh-huh.
extra content, that's how you do it. You go over to Patreon. And the reason that we do this show is because we believe in justice. We believe in
Mhm.
finding the truth. We believe in, people being caught and held accountable for the things that they have done. And that's why we cover the cases that
Mhm.
we do, and particularly why we cover cases of children that we do. It's not just to sensationalize anything, but it is to help.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will see this podcast and see those pictures and hear that recording, and maybe they'll be the person who knows who that person is. You
Yeah.
never know. And so getting cases like this out as far and as wide as possible is a really important part of what we do, and we believe in it
Mhm.
very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. It's our honor, really, to be able
Mhm.
to work on cases like this, and we know we watch your comments. We know some of you will really resonate with what we say. Some of you will hate us a lot, and that's okay. You don't
It's
have
okay.
to agree.
No,
It's all right. All information helps,
Yep.
and that's where we're at. And so, if you're commenting because you do or you don't, it's okay. We're
Mhm.
completely okay with constructive anything,
Yep.
because truly nobody has to be right all the time, and it's
Mm.
okay. And this is why I think a lot of times people that have information, whether it's coming from a very literal source or from a psychic source, hold back, is because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of,
Mhm.
what if I'm not right or completely right? And that's okay. you
Yeah.
know
There are
I mean,
often lots of pieces to a puzzle
well,
in a
you
situation
ask a
like this.
witness, right? Well, you ask a witness of any event or crime, and you put 10 witnesses in separate rooms and sit them down and take their, candor of events. And guess what? Every one of them is going to be different,
Mhm.
because it's coming through their lens. But
Yeah. But
there's
you fit
also
those pieces together.
there's also some truth to that. There is some light at the end of the tunnel with that, right? Yeah, it's the puzzle
Mhm.
pieces. So, let us know. And if you disagree with this, that's cool. If you do, that's cool. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're okay with that. It's not about us.
No, not at all. It is certainly about getting this story out,
Yeah,
and getting justice for Abby and Libby,
yeah,
just like it is in every other case that we cover.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. We'll be back next week with a new story.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.